Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a special episode review of the 2 premiere episodes of the brand new Ben 10 Reboot series. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a weekly review series on the new episodes for this like I do with Power Rangers and Superhero Time, but because Ben 10 was/is one of the main parts of my channel, I wanted to just do something at least about the premiere. In case there is anybody that's questioning about that, once the toys do pop up, I will be doing Ben 10 toy reviews. Obviously I haven't been doing them because they haven't been making them. But anyway, so we have a reboot here after Omniverse mysteriously disappeared from our TV screens and our toy stores, which happened very abruptly, to be honest, and it was really surprising to me because I don't know a whole lot about every behind the scenes detail, but I think that they thought it was just getting too confusing for kids, which honestly I think kids deserve more credit for how much they can follow because they started to really build the universe. But, you know, mysteriously disappeared. I first noticed it with the toys. And the reason it was so surprising to me personally is because I filmed the videos for it. And even to this day, like between when the series ended and the reboot was announced and now the reboot's happening, I'm constantly getting comments on my Ben 10 videos. They're still doing well. I'm constantly getting questions about like, hey, why didn't you review this? Or where did you buy this? Or where's Ben 10 gone? So it just seems like there's an awful lot of activity in the Ben 10 fandom, especially amongst kids even. Well, I guess all ages for my videos, but just to have it disappeared. So obviously they recognized that it was still popular, so they're doing this reboot. That was like a minute of a history lesson, but I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So they've kind of gone in a new direction, a new old direction. It's been placed in that sort of more traditional cartoon format of an episode split into 2 10-minute episodes, kind of like your Adventure Times, your Steven Universe's, sorry about that, something just kicked on over there, Steven Universe, Clarence, SpongeBob, you know, stuff like that, where it's 2 stories per episode, and they're shorter, and at the moment they're pretty inconsequential. It's kind of like, I would compare it to Teen Titans Go, but having watched it, it's not full-on kind of stupid like that. Like, I don't really care for Teen Titans Go, but I would compare it to that in a sense that right now, like, it doesn't appear that the storyline has any consequences. I'm hoping as we go throughout the series, I don't think we're going to get as involved with storyline as we were once getting, but I'm hoping for at least some continuous storylines and elements and recurring characters that actually, like, you know, you remember they appeared and it's not inconsequential, and, you know, more introducing of new villains and characters and aliens and stuff like that, which I'm sure they'll introduce new transformations as the series goes because, you know, toy sales. But like I said, at the moment it just appears just very fleeting, like, hey, this was a fun episode, don't think too much about it. And the first 2 episodes were, I can't remember the exact names, they'll be somewhere in the description of the title, but the first one was about they're visiting Niagara Falls, and Ben turns into Cannonbolt to have fun and literally does a cannonball and awakens basically like a sea creature that begins attacking, and he fights it. And the episode's basically about, well, other than that, it's kind of about introducing us to Overflow, which is basically water hazard, because the 10 alien lineup Ben has right now is basically a main mix of the original 10 aliens plus like Cannonbolt and Wildvine, which were like plus 10, but they're from the original roster, with the only new one being Overflow, which is basically water hazard. Like, I don't know why they didn't just call him water hazard. Well, I mean, I get why, because they probably wanted to market at least one new alien for toys and excitement, but he really, it reminds me of Fast Track, where it's like this alien with a very similar power set, like Fast Track to accelerate, and right down to the color scheme, but Overflow even more so, because he's got the red clamshell look, similar water powers to Water Hazard. Maybe they think people won't remember Water Hazard as much, but it also only stands out because not only because of how similar they are, but because there's aliens like Stinkfly, which are original 10 aliens that have been drastically redesigned to the point where they could have completely changed his name and I would have never known it was supposed to be Stinkfly. So Overflow honestly looks like just a slightly more drastic redesign of Water Hazard. So I kind of wish that they would have just kept him Water Hazard and maybe done an actually totally new alien. But anyway, the main point of the episode was kind of to get you introduced to him. They even talk about him as if he's new, as if this series has been established, because the series doesn't really do any sort of pilot. I think they might do something ish like that later on where they go a bit into the origins based on a clip that I think I saw. I'm not sure, but you know, it's not like the original series or any of the follow-ups where you get a sort of pilot. You're just kind of diving right in. It's basically taking place in a universe that's very similar to the original series universe with some slight differences, and so they're just kind of assuming you know what's going on, which is kind of fine. But like, the reason I bring that up is because they're sort of introducing Overflow like he is to the audience as if he's new. And other than his similarities, I do like him. I like his powers because I always like those kind of powers on Water Hazard. I liked his voice, stuff like that. But the first episode, what I basically just described was it. There wasn't a whole lot more to it. Like I said, I liked Water Hazard. We got to see Heatblast. And Heatblast is not voiced by Steve Blum. I want to talk about the voices for a second, I guess. And I don't know, Steve Blum was my favorite Heatblast voice they did for the whole series. So I don't know why they've never been able to get him back to do Heatblast since the original, because he was voiced by someone different from Alien Force onwards. And then they got Steve Blum back in Omniverse to do Vilgax. So, and I do kind of like the new Heatblast voice, but I don't know why they couldn't get Steve Blum. I just wanted to point that out. Like I said, I liked Water Hazard's voice. Ben's voice is Tara Strong, like usual for Kid Ben, which I love. So I'm glad they kept that. Gwen is someone different, I believe, but it's pretty similar enough to what Kid Gwen was in the original / what they would do for like young Kid Gwen in Omniverse, so I'm pretty okay with it. David Kaye is now voicing Grandpa Max, who he took a little bit getting used to in some of the preview clips because I'm so used to old Grandpa Max's voice, and I probably would have preferred it just for familiarity's sake, but honestly, after watching the first 2 episodes and sitting with it a bit, I'm pretty okay with it. I don't really hate it or anything. I'm getting used to it, is my point, I guess, so it's just kind of weird. But yeah, the first episode, average stuff, was mainly, I do kind of like that they at least sort of framed a bit of it around introducing us to Overflow, which made it feel a bit more like a new pilot in a little bit of a sense. The second episode I actually had a little bit more fun with, other than just liking the introduction of Overflow. It was about Ben entering a wrestling competition as Forearms. It wasn't really the best stuff, but the reason I liked it a little bit more in some senses was, in terms of the humor, there was a little more bits I laughed at. I thought it was funny when Gwen tried to dissuade Ben from competing using an alien because it was cheating, and then quickly not caring when she found out there was a cash prize. Or her doing like a gruffy old man coach voice for coaching Ben from the ring, and their adversary, metal arm guy, I forget his name, like actually believing she was an old man. I just found that kind of amusing. But yeah, I think both episodes were just kind of overall okay. They were just kind of a nice little enjoyable cartoon with the Ben 10 flair. It's definitely, like I said, it's basically like the original series with some slight differences in design and choices, and they're definitely leaning towards the comedy. It's basically like more of the filler episodes of the original series, but turning the comedy up to, I guess, 10, just makes more sense because of the series. So, like I said, I'm interested to see where it goes from here on out. If it can just remain sort of an enjoyable cartoon that doesn't annoy me too much, I'll be okay with it. I don't expect it to get anywhere near as plot intricate as the series went in the previous incarnation, but I would love to see some slight connections and continuations, and maybe some explanations about the universe. One thing that's kind of interesting is Ben doesn't seem to care about his secret identity, because it's outed in the middle of the second episode in the fight, and like his adversary also, and the judges of the competition just sort of casually refer to it as using alien powers. So I don't know if that's anything important, whether they, you know, it doesn't really matter just because it's kind of a more of a inconsequential cartoon, but at the moment it seems that the universe that this is in is more into the alien stuff, like in the original series, you know, no one knew about aliens and it kind of gradually happened, so it might be more common knowledge in this series. I don't know if they'll explore anything with that. One thing of note that's interesting, based on just some of the previews and things I've seen, they do seem to be taking advantage of the universe that was created in the previous series in terms of characters. Like Billy Billions, I know is going to be in it, who was an Omniverse created character. So I think that's neat, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they utilize from the other various series, whether it be characters or villains or other aliens that make appearances, and just kind of overall what they decide to do with what universe this operates in. But anyway, I kind of rambled too much about it. Overall, I didn't hate it. I had a decent time. I would say they're pretty average. I would give the first episode a 6, and I would give the second one a 6.5. Just overall kind of averagely enjoyable. Hoping best for the future here on out, and hope to be doing toy reviews sometime next year when they come out. But anyway, until next time, make sure you have the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.